Hey guys, howdy friars. Welcome to the Foundry Demo Day on July 16th here. As I mentioned earlier in the Telegram, it's a bit of an emotional roller coaster week. We've had a lot of positive things and also one bit of negative news that's causing a bit of anxiety, but we'll get to that. Well, and it's related to the demo day. So we have three things we're going to basically go over today. The first one is just the progress on Permapost, which is exciting, and it's been getting us a lot of community engagement coupled with Brave ads. So I'll just show off Permapost. And then the deeds contract is basically done now. We still want to sort of, let's say, wrap it up in some marketing stuff. So we want to give it a landing page and put some videos out. I suppose this recording is probably going to be massaged into some kind of video actually as part of that. But that's, I think, hugely positive because the deeds contract could get very popular and bring profit almost immediately into Foundry. Which brings me to the scary news, which is that the Foundry treasury is getting pretty low. It's at $80,000 right now. And our running costs at the moment, although there are various ways to sort of cut the cake there, is it's 30,000 to 50,000, I think, basically. 40,000, yeah. So that gives us less than 2 months to, assuming we make no more money on the sale, gives us less than 2 months to make something happen before having to make some hard decisions about somehow, I don't know, maybe hibernating Foundry, and who knows, I don't even want to think about what will happen there. So, and so the last part of the demo day will just kind of explain what we're calling the Ideathon, which is just going to be a very brief window of time where people can submit ideas, some profitable ideas, which could either be new ideas completely or tweaks on products that we already have. And we'll be giving away a $2,000 reward for whoever makes the best entry there. And we'll give some links for more information and for the specific judgment criteria and how that'll all work. So yeah, unless anyone wants to jump in with anything, I'll jump right into the Permapost demo.
Yeah, so are we going to cover the actions for the treasury thing at the end, or what's your plan?
Yeah, I think so. That'll be a nice thing to end with.
Let's jump into the demos then. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me give me a second. I'm just going to close all my messengers. That way, people that are all sending me their private keys won't do so while I'm publicly recording my Zoom calls. And get on a new Brave profile here. And close this guy. Okay, I think I'm ready to demo. All right, so let me share. Oops. Okay, so on a fresh Brave browser here, this is where we're advertising as well, so it's appropriate to start here. And you may see a little ad that pops up here. I doubt we will see it. I don't think I have ads enabled anyway. That will lead you to permapost.io. I think the ad text is something like, oh, maybe try that again. The ad text, well, we have a few ads running. Actually, I'm curious to see the stats on which ones are more successful, but you know, things like never be deplatformed and all that sort of rallying calls. I won't demo this too much other than just to show it's here, including the FAQ, which I think the most important part of this, in my mind, is sort of the ethical position we talked about. You know, something like this, which also leads to a Permapost, talks more about the ethics, which we'll load in a second. But we've already demoed Permapost, so let me just jump right to what's changed since the last time. But I guess I'll just briefly say, for those who don't know, this is a post that's on the blockchain. I could go here and view this on the Block Explorer. Oh, that's weird. Aha, this seems to be broken. This seems to be going to the Etherscan. Let me just do a quick hack here. So this is on the XDAI blockchain. So if I go here and then search for this transaction, and I interpret this as UTF-8, you can see that the text that I'm viewing on Permapost here is on the XDAI blockchain. Whoops, not that one. The XDAI blockchain here, it's the same. So that's the basic use case or the sale, I suppose, of Permapost. And what's changed since the last time is the Compose page, and well, specifically the onboarding. So first of all, because of the Brave wallet being basically an older version of the MetaMask wallet, which is unfortunate, this just sort of tells you how to ensure that you can actually get the MetaMask wallet to have a chance to be used and not be sort of over, steamrolled by the Brave wallet. And then you can install MetaMask here. Now this onboarding is required if you want to post. If you want to read something, you don't need to do this. If you want to post to the blockchain, then of course you do need to have some cryptocurrency, which makes sense. Thanks. And remind me later, don't need to do that now. Okay, now this is set up. Come back to Permapost, all done, click to reload. And this pops up, yes, I want to connect. And then we have the user switch to XDAI. And finally, even though I have no crypto here, we have included a faucet. So you can request XDAI here, request submitted, check balance. So in a little while, this will show a balance. In the meantime, I'll just put some stuff here. What can I say? Is I'm just going to write the next masterpiece here. I'm tempted to write a haiku, but I'll just say that. To write a haiku. How many? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I didn't quite get the first line right, so I'm just going to give up now for the haiku anyway. I'll post. The first time you post, you'll see this welcome message. It basically just addresses you as your address, and it kind of just tells you what the deal is. The main point here is you're making a permanent, undeletable, uneditable post, so you just want to be aware of that. Accept, and then I can post it. That will only show up once. And we will wait for this to mine. We can go ahead and check this out on the Block Explorer. You can see here, once again, this is the payload. Okay, success. You can see it popped up here as well. If I go back here, click this link, and here is, here's my new post. This face, by the way, maps to my address. So the hair color and the face color comes from the fact that certain characters are in my address and not others. I wish Chris was here. He probably would point out other things that we've changed and modified and improved since the last time that we've demoed Permapost. But I think for me, the onboarding is the main thing that's new. The fact that you can just click to switch to XDAI, and the fact that you can click to just get some small amount of XDAI to post. Those are the important things as far as I'm concerned. So we can move on to the next thing unless any comments or questions from Skalk or Lo or anyone else in the call. I'll stop sharing for now.
No questions
No questions. Cool.
All right, looking good.
All right.
Good. All right.
So hand it over to Skalk then for the ETH.
Just a quick question about your, okay, so you're the product owner of basically of Permapost. What would you say are things that are still necessary for it to be, very usable on a wide basis?
I think it's pretty much there now. I mean, in fact, I'll show later. I used Permapost to actually put the rules for the bounty, the Ideathon event that's actually on Permapost now, and so I'm pretty happy with how it worked. I would say a feature set I'm eager to get put in, that's actually I think a little beyond the MVP now, is tipping. So when you see a post, you want to be able to tip it, and then you want to be able to display how much the post has received. So similar to the medium.com claps for an article, But of course, this is with real money. So I'm just really excited to get that going. And I think actually the landing page talks about it as if it's already implemented. So in that sense, it's pretty urgent. And the thing that's what's so exciting about that is that then Permapost will be for any content creator, you can count on this home basically where you can put content out and no one will ever be able to delete it and no one can ever demonetize you. Another feature that will come along pretty quick is the post author page. And then that basically turns the whole thing into a blog. So you could go to permapost.io/my address, and then you'd see everything I'd written. And you can check back on there. And then of course, there's things we can do as well with subscribing and notifications and stuff. But out of all that, the thing that I see as most crucial is just the ability to tip somebody and then seeing how much a post has been tipped. And I would say that at that point, I'm ready to start like tweeting at Balaji, tweeting at Glenn Greenwald. I mean, Peterson, anyone who is in any way involved in a censorship discussion, deplatforming discussion. I think the more I look out at, because there are other apps that do similar things. They use blockchain to allow uncensorable posts. But one thing I've noticed is that no one is as bold about addressing the ethical concerns as we are. We're putting our position out there quite boldly. And I think another thing that puts us apart is that we've really thought more about the marketing and design, which is not to say we've nailed it yet, but I think we're focused on that in a way that others aren't. And so I think those two combined could be that next week we suddenly get big names talking about Permapost and we're on news articles and stuff, which, I mean, if that happens, depending on the degree, that also solves the treasury problem. So yeah, I'll end there other than just to say that the progress on Permapost has been really exhilarating, and I'm really excited to like I said, roughly I think a week we'll start like mailing people and just it's hard for me to imagine that we won't get press at that point. But the level of press, I don't know, but I think it'll be easy to get some people talking about what we're doing.
Okay.
All right, so shall we do the DETH demo, DETH/death? We don't know which name will take over yet.
Okay. The DETH-death. Okay, so for everyone who's new, I think let's just get that set of notes we made out. Okay, so right. So firstly, I think let me just start off by giving a quick explanation of what DETH is. Right. So all the way back in January, we had a demo about the beta version of DETH. Essentially what it does is there's a system on Ethereum called Maker. And what you can do with Maker is pretty cool. You can give it one kind of token and then you can load dollars or DAI specifically against that token as collateral. And what Maker basically does is if you put down, let's say, for instance, $200,000 worth of collateral, you can loan up to, say, a maximum of $133,000 against that $200,000 of collateral, right? So you might put down collateral of type Ether, and then you can actually loan collateral of type DAI against it, right? Now, since Maker went live, a lot of people who were very long on Ether obviously saw the opportunity that they could put down collateral, loan DAI, and buy more Ether and put it down as collateral. Yes.
Can I just suggest you do the sale, the one sentence sale first, and then continue, like the title of it, right?
All right. So if you believe that Ether is money, then DETH is money squared. Right. So Ether is money squared equals DETH. That's sort of like the tagline that we're running with. If you go look on our Twitter account at the moment, that's the post we just shared on Medium as well, which also gives this whole description, by the way. Okay, right. So in other words, if you are long on Ether, and you have high conviction of the price and you understand what you're doing, then the DETH contract will get you there faster. It'll also get you in the opposite direction.
And
faster,
just to be explicit, it hyper exposes you to ETH price movements with DeFi levels. So that's maybe not the sexy tagline, but that's what you're buying essentially. And now, Skulk, you're going to talk about basically how that's actually built, how we make that claim true.
Exactly. All right. So the way that that claim is made true is like, so we've built on top of other DeFi Legos. So obviously the most complex DeFi Lego is Ethereum. The next one on top of that is Maker, which is almost as complicated. And then on top of that, there are these guys called DeFi Saver. Now, what DeFi Saver actually do is all of these debt positions out there on Ethereum, DeFi Saver automate those debt positions and they keep them safe. Hence DeFi Saver as saving and saving them basically, right? Very cool project if you want to go check it out. Serious shout out to those guys. But all right, so basically we built on top of Maker and on top of DeFi Saver, we built a tokenization layer, right? Because this DeFi Saver layer, it basically does complicated automated market making trades, and it does complicated like flash loans to keep these underlying debt positions safe, right? Those are quite gas intensive, right? So you want the larger your position, the better, basically. So what we did is we built a tokenization layer at the very top, which allows anyone of basically any size to gain exposure to this and actually like get out of the position again as well, right? Yes.
Sorry, I apologize. I think I got you off track, and now as a result, you've skipped one part of it, which is that if I may jump in. So you can take a CDP, you can do one of these debt positions with Maker. You put your Ether in, you generate DAI, then you take that DAI and buy Ether and put that Ether into the CDP. Now you're hyper exposed to Ether. So if ETH goes up, you win more because your debt of DAI stays the same, but now your Ether's worth more. And so people manually can do this. I've done it myself when I was quite sure the ETH price would go up. And then DeFi Saver is basically saying, oh, okay, we see people are doing this. Let's build a system that will automate that so that you never default. So it'll do the right selling and buying and paying back of debt and everything to never default, while also keeping you basically maximally exposed. So it'll either, if I get this right, it'll either sell your DAI for more Ether to basically hyper expose you more if the market's going one direction, or it'll do the reverse if the market's going the other direction, basically just to keep you sort of, let's say, ideally exposed with the underlying CDP. And so then just to bring it back to where Skulk was just ended, we've just put a tokenization layer on that. So now we can tokenize a single one of these DeFi Saver powered CDPs.
Yes, yeah. So the idea is also that ours can hopefully introduce a lot of efficiency for everyone else. So this is basically this is the thing we built, and this is the first. Hopefully, it's the first version of multiple of these kinds of things, right? So we have a little bit of an internal roadmap for how we want to take this idea to its logical conclusion, which is essentially being able to long and short almost any pair of almost anything that's available on Ethereum, right? So that's essentially the explanation. Did I skip anything in the explanation?
I think we sort of covered it all. What do you think, Lo, as the sort of the less tech head guy of us? Does that make sense? Do you feel the need to re-summarize?
Sorry, let me just unmute you. The more complex tech stuff obviously flows a bit over my head, but the core concept, I think that sticks. So I don't think we need to do more summary than that. If anyone wants more summary, we can chat to them directly, I think.
Sure. Okay, cool.
Let me just quickly say one thing about how one would actually use the DETH contract to basically make money, right? Obviously, this is not a risk-free thing, right? This is not Yearn Finance. The idea is not that you have no downside exposure, right? You have enormous upside exposure and considerable downside exposure, right? But the way that you would like benefit from this is essentially, let's say, for instance, you believe that the price of Ether has bottomed out, and you think it's going to go to $3,000. Right. So between here and $3,000, if you just buy Ether, you get exposure of about 50% upside. Right. Theoretically, with let me just quickly do the math here. So theoretically, you should have about 125% exposure with the DETH contract if you believe that the price is going to go up. Now, there are certain like given how the system works on the other side, you guys can go, read up on that in our post. But given how it works on the bottom, there are obviously some fees, right? There are gas fees associated with rebalancing it, and there are some interest fees that go to Maker, right? So that does change the exact nature of this, but the bottom line is it gives you far more exposure in both directions, right? Similarly, if the price of Ether goes from $2,000 to $1,000, then it most likely means that you are going to only sit with about 25% of your value after that move. It'll go as fast in the opposite direction, basically, right? So the two ways that you can that somebody might want to use this product is, the one thing is they've got conviction it'll go up over time, so they accumulate some DETH, they wait for their target prices, and then they just pull out the underlying Ether, right? So in other words, they mint some DETH today, they wait a while, they unmint the DETH later, right? That's the one thing.
And just if I can add one piece to that, a way I like to think about it is that then in that scenario, not only has the price of Ether gone up, but the actual amount of Ether that you can get from the position will have gone up. And that's sort of, in my mind, mechanically how you getting accelerated price movement. If the price of Ether goes up and you have DETH, now you can actually get more Ether out, as well as having that Ether be worth more. So that's the acceleration.
Exactly. That is why it accelerates. Exactly. Because it constantly automatically levers and delevers itself, right? Now, the second way that you might want to play this thing is essentially if you have a price drop, oftentimes, like if you have these kind of panics, there's a bounce again. So if you see one of these panics, you see a nice long red candle or two, you can, and again, also not financial advice, it's very risky. You can mint DETH basically and ride the bounce up and then unmint the DETH again at the top of the bounce, right? So that's essentially the thing. One of the other benefits is that unlike just a plain leveraged position, you can't really get stopped out of the DETH contract, right? The DETH contract as a whole, if too few people are interested, which is not the case at the moment, might eventually get stopped out, but that's hopefully a scenario we avoid in its entirety. So that's essentially like why you would want to use it. And I think we can demo it now, basically.
Yeah, cool.
All right, hold on a second. Okay, let me quickly grab this stuff here. All right, so that's been arbed. Okay, well, you just guide me through the notes on the demo stuff. So just tell me where we start, and then I'll take it from there.
Yeah, sorry, just loading it up. Okay, so first thing is you want to mint and then note the stats, basically. So I'll write down what the relevant number when you mint.
Okay, let's just connect the wallet here to this bad boy. Okay. All right, so the first thing we want to do is, let me get this Zoom stuff out of the way. Okay, so if you go to our dashboard, there are links in our Medium article, which you can, okay, come on Medium, I don't want to see that. Okay, that's wonderful, Medium. Anyway, yeah, so if you go to our Twitter account at the moment, I'll pin the post, but essentially you can read on Medium the description and get all the relevant links that we're going to go through here now. So if you want to mint some DETH, by the way, we still need to update that. I hard refreshed it, didn't update. So if you want to, for instance, mint some DETH, you can go over here to the dashboard and click on the little DETH tab at the top there. And let's say, for instance, what we want to do here is we want to mint 0.01 Ether. So on this side, we take Ether and we make it DETH. Now, what this does is it takes this Ether, puts it into the system, which puts it into the underlying Maker CDP, and then issues us with some DETH. So let's just actually look. So our current DETH balance is 0. So I'm going to click deposit. All right, and then I'm going to confirm this. I see the gas prices are pretty high at the moment. All right, so that's going to mine quickly. Let's give that a moment.
By the way, if you hard refresh now, I just had an update that was actually pending. It should update the title now.
Quickly refresh that. All right, so that's also still mining.
We could couldn't quite get the actual square, the superscript there in time.
Let's have a look. Oh, okay. All right. So, all right. So we'll fix the superscript. All right. All right. Let's just let this thing refresh again. Oh, it needs to connect.
The balance loads very slowly right now. That's also a bug we should have fixed pretty soon. Probably by the time the viewers are looking at this, that will happen much faster.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you'll see that our balance has now been updated to 0.011 ETH, right? So our ETH was converted into 0.011 ETH, right? So we can redeem that. Just want to give a quick breakdown of what these fees are for. All right, so let's just say, argument's sake, let's do one so you can see these numbers exactly, right? So the first one is basically how much Ether we're actually entering. The second one, which is a 0.9% fee, that's a fee that basically goes to the foundry, and will actually show how much of this fee has already been consumed by the Death contract. It's actually pretty cool to see how, without basically any marketing and very, very few users, we've already actually made a few dollars in a couple of days. Right, the automation fee is just due to the fact that every time this thing has to rebalance, there are quite serious gas implications. Whenever anybody enters or leaves, they leave 1% of their collateral inside of the CDP, the maker CDP, right? So that just basically covers the gas costs for everyone else who still remains in the DETH contract, and who might be, it might be destabilized due to people entering and leaving. So the actual ETH entered, so minus those two fees, is 0.991. So so that's how much Ether actually ends up in the CDP, and the DETH issued is basically, or the Death issued is basically how much Death you get out on the other side. All right, so if we look on this side, it's a similar idea, just in the opposite direction. The first one is how much DETH do we actually...
Sorry, if I could just jump in there, just to make it clear. It might look like, just to make it clear, that the DETH issue there is not necessarily a straight calculation from the previous numbers. So if you're looking at that being like, I don't see how the math adds up. The math doesn't add up. The DETH issued will, per, let's say, 1 ETH, will change based on the price of ETH, which is just another sort of window into the accelerated price motion of DETH.
Yeah. Okay. So so basically on this side, so 1 ETH is not worth 1 ETH, obviously, right? So you'll see that if I punch in the numbers from the other side, like Logan just mentioned, you'll actually see numbers that that resemble the numbers on the left-hand side. But right, just for easy calculation, if we say 1, basically, right, so our automation fee is again going to be 0.9%. All right, so that's how much goes to the protocol.
I think actually
how much collateral.
Put in that 1.1. Well, I guess explain the fees first, but then put in that number just because it has a
All right, let me quickly finish this. So, all right, so basically what happens here is 1% is not redeemed from the CDP. That remains in the CDP to compensate the other holders for any gas destabilization you might cause. So 0.89 goes to the 0.89 goes to the existing holders. The collateral redeemed is 0.8819. The protocol fee is 0.08, and the collateral returned, if you redeem 1 ETH at the moment, and this number will fluctuate considerably, is 0.8739 Ether. Right. So if I type in this, you'll actually see the that if you do the calculation from there to there, you'll actually see that that is essentially like a fee of 0.9% applied twice and a fee of 1% applied twice. Was that what you meant, Logan?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So so let me quickly. I'm going to just click here and redeem this so long, and then I'll show us both. I'll show us the transactions that we basically see. Let's just confirm this. All right, so while that's mining, let's go, let me just see where the gas is. The gas seems to be spiking for some reason at the moment.
It's also worth mentioning the gas fee. I mean, so that's a fee that we don't show in the calculator. But so I think if I recall, it was about $20 currently for the minting, and then about $40 for the burning. Is that right? Or for the redeeming, I should say.
Yeah, so it was about, I mean, right now it was about $50 for minting, but I do think it is slightly higher than it was just literally an hour ago. And it's about $38 for the, okay, well, sorry, you're correct. It's exactly $20. That's actually what it cost, exactly $20. Right. All right, because this is actually the minting transaction that we just performed at the beginning. Okay, let's just actually look at this thing quickly, right? So
if I could just jump in just to summarize something then. So then it would seem like at least at current gas prices, then the round trip of minting and then redeeming DETH is roughly $60 in gas, plus 3 point something percent of the actual position that you're sort of transferring. Obviously, there's no point of doing this if you just would mint and then redeem, other than demo purposes. But that is essentially those are the costs round trip of, let's say, entering and then exiting a leveraged ETH position, all on DeFi Legos.
Yeah, so it looks like it'll be about $35. My guess is it's about $35 to enter and to exit, and about a 3.8 give or take percentage. Yeah, so if you just want to purely mint and unmint, you have to wait for a move that's about 4% or more, you know, to cover your gas and to break even. So anything more than a 4% price move is what you would basically need. Well, it would be about a 2.5% price move in the price of Ether, since DETH, again, you know, travels faster. But yeah, what you can also do is if you have considerable capital, you can actually provide liquidity for this as well. So there's quite a bit of benefit maybe in that, so that you might be able to open a larger position, provide liquidity on Uniswap or some other AMM, and then and then essentially make money off of both the trading fees and the price exposure, depending on how people want to play that. But I'm sure people, you know, speculators going to speculate and figure that out. All right, but let's quickly look at this transaction. I just want to show here where the actual money went to. Right, so the first thing that happened is we see that we entered 0.0991 Ether, actually ended up going into the contract, and then 0.0991 Ether started going into the wrapped Ether contract, right? So Maker uses wrapped Ether as its collateral type, right? So that essentially shows us that that amount went into the CDP. That's effectively what we can deduce from there. And now the second thing is basically, or this third thing here is that's actually the Gulper fee. So that's the fee that goes to Foundry. You can actually open that up as well. I think I'll show that at the end, right? So at the end, we'll just actually show you guys how much the Gulper made and lost during this. Well, couldn't lose anything, it always wins. Yeah, and then the tokens transferred, essentially there was again just this internally it picks up that there's wrapped Ether, which goes into the CDP, which will also see as the majority. Yeah, again, wait, this is actually just a small amount. Yeah, and then the second part is basically the derived Ether. So that's just essentially what goes, that is the address that I called this from. So that is the person who actually mints the derived Ether who gets this amount. Okay, let's see if the unminting has mined yet. Let's see how long this is going to take. Right, this might actually take a minute or two. What's the next item on the list?
We'll take a look here. Adding liquidity.
All right. Okay, cool. So we can actually show that as well quickly. Okay, so
so now you're going to be showing us how someone with some significant funds can actually do this farming essentially and make more money.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, that link is the link in here, by the way, for the farming for the pool.
It's in the code somewhere. Doesn't seem to be in the interface. That's I'll make a note to change that.
All right, let me just quickly. Okay, okay, we'll add it here. Basically, we'll add which pool exactly that this mining is. We actually really need to add that. It doesn't help we advertise this without that to new people. But all right, so basically we have a liquidity farming system.
Just a quick note on that. I'm going to be including all the relevant links for what we're showing up in the video description at least. So these people watching this won't be you know.
yeah, there's going to be a lot of links. So yeah, let's quickly just go here. Okay, so all right, so we'll add this both to the form today and to the video links. But here essentially yeah, so here essentially, oh, well, that actually grew considerably today. Wow. All right. Right, so here we basically have the farm for Fry and ETH, right? So we decided to combine our liquidity into one balance pool. And what that just means essentially is that by providing liquidity here, we continue to support the price of, well, the liquidity for Fry, and we actually like introduce liquidity for the ETH contract. This pool consists of Fry, DAI, and Death. So we went with DAI just because, you know, it's basically we're clearly in a bit of a downtrend at the moment. So we went with DAI and Death versus ETH and Death, just purely to protect the pool holders from very severe downside exposure, basically. So this gives you similar exposure to a pool that might be 2/3 Ether and 1/3 Fry, right? But again, that gets quite technical. I actually think we probably need to do like individual videos about each component of this thing. I just realized it's incredibly information dense.
Yeah, we're really going through a lot.
Yeah.
Well, should we cut out some part of this? Should we cut out maybe like the demonstrating the farming and the liquidity? I mean,
yeah, I think we can skip that. I just want to explain to people, because there are some new people here. Essentially, what this thing does, right, is it allows you to if you already own some dollars, you already own some Fry, and you want some of these, to actually put that into what's called a liquidity pool. And then you get like a thing called the liquidity token out. You can take your liquidity token to this farm of ours, and you can stake it there. So in other words, this thing is just to prove that you have provided liquidity. And in return for that, we actually give you DAI, right? So currently this farm is paying out, I think it's about $10,000 in this current time frame for, it was about a 30-day time frame. It's about 3 days in already. And yeah, and that equates to approximately a return of 333% on the value of your pool token. So in other words, if you put in, how's that going to work basically? So if you put in $10,000, like, we're not sure we can maintain this, this level of rewards, but effectively annualized, if you put in $10,000, the annualized return is $33,000. Obviously, that only runs for a month, so you have to like discount that down to a month, but that's a significant amount of money. That's still like a 25% return in, in 1 month in dollar terms. Now, obviously, you do take risk because the, the underlying tokens of the pool can fluctuate a lot. But I do think that this APY more than justifies that potential risk.
Right, and then obviously as other people join in, the APY will go down. So if you follow our links on watching this on YouTube and you see the number smaller than it used to be, it means somebody else already has made that decision.
Yeah. All right. So what's next?
Let me take a look here. Where'd that doc go? Let's see. Well, we're going to have that you add liquidity and farm, and then I would buy on Uniswap. Or maybe we can just skip right to me buying on Uniswap.
All right. Yeah, I think let's do that. So
okay.
Share. I'll stop sharing.
All righty. Wait, am I buying on Uniswap or Balancer?
1 inch. You have to show
1 inch.
1 inch.
Okay, I'll show him. So 1 inch.
While he loads up there, do you guys have any questions as to, we just covered an incredible amount of ground actually there. I think if somebody has never seen this thing before or doesn't know what leverage is or a perpetual position, you might have some questions.
Scott, could you just send me the link to the one, or can I just search for ETH on 1 inch?
No, you can't right now. You have to use the link there because 1 inch doesn't have the ETH. So
right.
One of the things I still have to do is basically load all the official things into all the official backend
right.
stuff. Hold on a second. There is a link. If you go to the Medium article, there is a
Can you send me that link? I don't know if I have it up
Oh, yeah.
anymore. Okay,
I'm going to send it to you now.
on Signal.
Yes.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. All right, and I will then switch my browser and share screen. Oh, I'm going to be using a browser with a new MetaMask. I didn't think through that bit of preparation. I'm not sure I want to really expose my MetaMask, my actual MetaMask info. Okay, well, let me at least show the one app. I'll just do it with my MetaMask. I'm not going to actually do the trade. I'll just basically get up to that point. Continue. Yeah, okay. So if you follow the link again, we'll have this link in the video description and also in the dashboard. So you come to 1inch with that link. I accept Ethereum and MetaMask. Of course, you'll need MetaMask to do this, as with pretty much anything else. And then it looks like I need to change this to Ethereum. You probably won't need to do that unless you've been messing around on Permapost. Yeah, and then it's pretty simple. You can trade whatever you want for ETH. So I have a balance of 0. I won't really be able to do anything. I don't even think I have anything on this wallet. Yeah, it's a fresh wallet. But, assuming I had like 0.1 Ether, this would not say insufficient balance. I could click go, and then I would get ETH into my account. And I think the thing to note about this is that this market will naturally follow the underlying redeemable value of ETH. So if you don't want to mess with our dashboard, you just want to buy and sell ETH, you can come to the market, and it'll always be slightly decoupled, but basically as soon as it decouples enough, someone will come in arbitrage and rebalance the price between Uniswap versus the dashboard that directly mints and redeems ETH. Which is another, by the way, it's another money-making opportunity. If you want to watch out for that arbitrage opportunity, you're more than welcome. And of course, you can get in contact with us, and we'll set you up with whatever you need to do that. Yeah, it'd be cool to have the Uniswap price of ETH as closely as possible, follow the underlying mintable or redeemable value of ETH. So yeah, not much of a demo from my side, but I think I maybe showed enough, really. You can buy ETH from Uniswap, and then you can, of course, sell into Uniswap as well. Let's see, what is next on the agenda? Well, we could show, we were going to show you arbitraging, Scott, but I think we'll skip that one as well. The last two things is...
Hold on. I do want to show the arbitrage quickly. Like the arbitrage cost me quite a bit to set up.
Oh, that's right. You did set that up. Okay, cool.
Okay, hold on. 2.2. Let's just quickly see how this is going to pan out. I just want to make sure I'm doing it in the right order here. All right, okay, let me share there quickly. Okay, well, that's the leave button, that's not the share button. All right, I must say this Zoom, I can't believe Zoom won. Honestly, it's just such a bad hack of old Skype, back when Skype still worked.
Yeah, well, they won. It is the best in terms of video, like quality of video among a laggy situation. Like it's a good video carrier. Unfortunately, the interface is just a piece of shit, but that's a first world problem for you.
All right, so basically at the moment, right, if we go to the, okay, so the way that the arbitrage works, and I'm sure that once the DeFi robots pick up on the fact that they can arbitrage the secondary markets against the death contract, they will probably start doing this in an automated fashion, right? So I've already loaded ETH_1 here as one of my options. All right, so now what we're going to do, and Logan help me with the logic here, but basically what we want to do here is we want to see if there is an arbitrage opportunity, right? So we want to say if we, for instance, if we mint one ETH, we're going to get 1.011. Well, if we mint one Ether into ETH, we're going to get 1.011 ETH out, right? So now on the secondary market, we want to make sure that 1011. All right, cool. So we see on the secondary market.
I thought it was 1.011. Oh no, it's my bad.
1.1011. Yeah. So here what we see is that we see if we take one Ether and make it ETH, we get a 1.01011 amount out on the other side, right? If we go here and we basically trade one ETH for Ether on the secondary market, we're going to get 1.200 out, which is 0.200 more than we're putting in here.
Right.
So what we're going to do here, is we are going to, right, so we're going to deposit one ETH here. All right, I just need to do some stuff on this side to make that work. And obviously, guys, lots of this will get a lot smoother as we extend the, as we basically extend the interfaces and make that smoother, and maybe get one or two backend processes up and running. All right, so this transaction is mining. Let's just try to make sure that it's not going to take too long. Just basically speed this up a little bit, just for the sake of the demo.
I never feel like such a rich man as when I, on recording, choose to spend $45 just to save 2 minutes. I'm like, man, what a baller I seem to be.
Yes, indeed.
Logan
I feel similar. I feel similar. Okay, so let's just make sure that this one doesn't take too long. I just want to say, like, the gas fees have been very, very reasonable as of late, except for today, literally except for the little window of time that we do this demo. All right. Okay, cool. So here we basically have our minted ETH, right? So now we're gonna go. Okay, but hold on a second. We want to trade our ETH there for this Ether. And we are going to confirm the swap. So we are now trading that one ETH we just minted on the market for.
And so this connects to what I was saying earlier about, I, as, let's say, a casual consumer of Uniswap, want to go buy ETH. This action that you're performing is actually sort of the mechanism by which that market follows the redeemable price of ETH. So you're in some sense recoupling now these two different sources of buying and selling ETH, and therefore recoupling the price.
Exactly. So I do want to point out one thing, right? This isn't that we're just arbitraging our own liquidity, because what ETH does in the background through DeFi Saver is it constantly levers and delevers itself. So it gains money by being right in a certain degree, and it loses money by being wrong in another degree. And there is our liquidity, and bringing the two into balance can basically mean some income for the arbiter, and every minting or redemption of DETH basically means income for Foundry. Right. Okay. Cool. So there it basically happened. Now let's have a look here at how much we actually made from this. All right. So there we see there was a transfer from the Uniswap pool back to my account. So yeah, so where we spent one Ether. Now I do want to say, before the demo, we deliberately moved the price of ETH in the wrong direction by buying too much of it on our pool.
So in other words,
we very active at the moment.
We sort of artificially decoupled the market. In other words, just to sort of demonstrate this.
Exactly. All right. So in other words, there's a very, very high profit margin here, but it's because we artificially moved it in the wrong direction. But this will continuously happen in both directions. So you will continuously have a situation where, if you buy if you buy DETH on the on the secondary market and you go redeem it and you go mint more DETH, you actually make a profit. Or the reverse will be basically if you mint DETH, you go sell it on the secondary market, and you and you then basically remint the DETH. I don't know if I got that order right, but you guys get the idea. There's like there'll be a constant shift of that essentially happen. And every time, and again, just for the fry holders, every time that becomes viable, right? Every time that window opens up, whatever the amount is that has to be minted or redeemed, 0.9% of that goes into our permafrost pool, right? I think that was the last item we wanted to show. Am I correct?
Well, we want to show the gulper. And so
yeah, that was
yeah. So, but just another note on that, I do want to sort of decouple because you mentioned the permafrost, so that might be jargon people don't really understand or not familiar with. I just like to replace what you said with income, because first and foremost, that 0.9% that you were talking about, that's income. And then the way that we're currently choosing to gulp that, which we'll show now, is that it gets put into the permafrost, which basically indirectly raises the fry price, which that indirectly brings DAI into the treasury. But I do want to make the point that that's in some sense decoupled, because we can repoint the gulper directly at the treasury if we wanted to. If we wanted to take this ETH and throw it right in the treasury, we could do that. But the main point is that this is income to the, let's say, to the benefit of fry holders, and we can sort of change the actual mechanic by which that is realized, whether we send it to the permafrost or we send it just directly to the treasury, or maybe some other crazy thing we want to do sometime. Or we could also arguably just buy fry and burn it. That would be another option, for example.
So the permafrost is, I mean, we can make a whole nother video about the permafrost. It's really been one of the more interesting accidental things we did. I feel we did right. But basically what that does is that continuously increases the market for fry, it increases the price of fry, and it increases the minimum possible floor price of fry, given a stable amount of fry in circulation. All right, so I just want to show you guys here, all right? So we have basically only experimented
with
this
gulper.
thing. Yeah, this is the gulper. So this is just arbitrage that like one of our community members has been doing on his own, and I've been doing as it's been, as there's been like a little bit of opportunity.
Sorry, let me just jump in, and sorry, I just want to add a little bit more clarity, because I think this will help connect to what I just said. So when the DETH contract makes profit, it goes to the gulper. That's what we're looking at. And the gulper's whole job, which connects to its name, is that it collects money, and then when we send it to where it's pointed at. So I just wanted to connect that last piece. That's the gulper's job. That's why we're looking at it now. And the money in here, I think as Skulk is about to talk about, is basically come completely from this is profit from the DETH contract. In other words, this graph that we're looking at.
Exactly. All right, guys. So this thing basically only went live on the 10th, right? Well, okay, that I think it might have gone live just a little bit before that, but that was the last time it basically got gulped, so to speak. Right. So in the meanwhile, in the last 6 days, it's made a profit of about $240. Right. So the money accumulates here, and then there's a little robot incentive. If you go look at this contract, there's a little robot incentive where anyone can do this thing called gulp. Right. And 1/10 of a percentage of however much money has been accumulated here will go into the permafrost. Right, so I'm just going to call this gulp for the time.
Wait. So I think you meant that small percentage goes to the person who calls it, and the rest goes to the permafrost.
Yeah, sorry. The 0.1% goes to the person who calls it, and the rest goes to the permafrost, basically. Right, so there's always an incentive for somebody to come along and actually hit this button. Right, and whenever that number is big enough, somebody will come along and actually hit that button. Right, so that is a very high percentage of our money right now. So I don't want to do that. So this is a secondary account. I'm just going to basically move it to I'm just going to say 1 Gwei, right? And I'm going to run that. That'll run at 0.59 cents. And the cool thing about this is, since this is a secondary account, I'm just going to leave it there, because there's no price sensitivity at all in this thing. It doesn't care if it gets front run. It'll just execute whenever it executes. So this transaction, just quickly refresh this here. Okay, it might not be picking it up yet. But the bottom line is there is now another call to the gulp method that regardless of how long it takes, let's just see if this one, okay, that was an expensive gulp. Let's see if the previous gulp was a cheap one. It's also an expensive one. Just look here. One of these I think was quite cheap. All right, well, here's one for 19 Gwei basically, but even a 1 Gwei one will eventually, there will be network conditions such that it's cheap enough to execute. And we're in no real rush to move these funds to the permafrost, and whoever ends up pushing this button will probably want to maximize their incomes, right? So that's what the gulper does. That's how you as fry holders, your fry gains value through this whole system.
Right. And if I could just add a little bit of info, I know this demo day is going so long, but the reason we have a gulper instead of just pointing the profit from the DETH contract directly to the treasury or the permafrost is so that we have basically a valve that we can point where we want and eventually break off the handle to where we can't repoint it anywhere. So that's sort of so we have the flexibility now to redirect the profit, but we can cement that in at any other time by burning the owner key of the gulper. So.
Yeah.
Whew, man, we've covered a lot. I feel sorry for anyone who feels obligated to be here, like Lo.
Okay. All right, cool guys. Any last word? We can take 1 or 2 last questions, and then we got to run.
Well, we gotta also announce our last thing as well. Our idea.
I tell you what. Let's. Oh yeah, we need to. You're right. The idea thing we need to definitely do. All right. Any questions about the DETH contract or the idea or any ideas or thoughts or anything about the DETH thing we just demoed from it?
Or Scalp's personal life or sexual preferences. Those are also fine.
Hi guys, I will never talk much because I'm not a native English speaker. Perhaps you recognize my accent. I'm French, so my written English is pretty good, but my spoken English is far from perfect. Just wanted to say thanks for the demo. It's interesting to see more. I will just insist that BAT is on MetaMask, so we could buy some DETH or Fry with BAT or other cryptocurrencies, because you were using MetaMask, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
So you could go to 1inch like I did, and instead of buying with ETH, you can buy with BAT. That's fine. The only caveat is that you will need some ETH to pay the gas. So because it all works on the Ethereum network, you need a little bit of ETH to pay the gas of the transaction.
Let me show you quickly. If you go to 1inch, all right. So if you go to our article that we just wrote, you can find that on our Twitter and in the show notes. But let's say, for instance, I want to trade 100 BAT for ETH, then I can actually do that on 1inch. So in other words, I can just select BAT and I can select the ETH one. Don't type that in specifically. It will show up within, I think, the next week or 2 as the updates propagate through the system. But yes, basically through the automated market makers, you can essentially trade anything for anything, including BAT for ETH.
Okay, cool. Thanks for asking the question. Yep, cool. And thanks for showing up. It's cool to see the Brave ads working so well.
I believe the correct term is merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Ah, nice. So, okay, last thing to go over. I'll lead this topic basically. Our treasury is small and shrinking as we spend money basically for our salaries and then a couple of developers. And we have $80,000 in there now, and we spend about $40,000 a month, and give or take a little bit depending on sort of how we wiggle around in the meantime. But we basically have 1 to 2 months left in the runway, again, depending on how you count, depending on which costs we want to cut, and also depending on how the sale.
Of course, assuming no further income.
Yes, exactly.
An awful lot to increase.
Well, right.
I just want to point.
Mhm.
I just want to interject. The reason we mention this now is because there is a market downturn.
Yeah.
Right? So this is not us basically saying we're going to hit a wall. This is us basically saying we have to avoid a wall.
Yes.
Right. So we do see the wall in the distance. We haven't hit the wall. So just to,
Iceberg.
It's an iceberg. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we see an iceberg ahead. I think you tweeted out about
Yeah,
that.
I
Anyway,
tweeted that,
yeah,
yeah.
so we got an iceberg ahead. I'm oddly relaxed about it, to be completely honest. I think that we will weather it well and make the turns necessary, but it's definitely a crisis of sorts that we need to pay attention to. So that involves a couple of things. For one, just a renewed focus on DETH, because it seems like such a clear winner in terms of immediate profit. I mean, we already have profit, as Skulk said, and we haven't even marketed the thing. And then permapost as well is another sort of different attempt that doesn't have a profit mechanism, but I think it has a very high chance of getting us so much press that the fry price goes crazy, which would then also bring DAI into the treasury and solve that problem, depending on how big the press is. But another thing that we just came up with today and that we're excited to announce is basically a very short, quick, we're calling it an ideathon. We're giving out a $2,000 prize to basically the best idea for a profitable venture that we can implement within 2 months, given 2 front-end developers and a Solidity developer. Now, that's not necessarily a commitment that will go for the winning idea, but we need more ideas now in case the permapost doesn't get us that exposure, in case the DETH thing doesn't bring in the income, and also along with that, we don't get a lot more money into the sale for other reasons. If all of those things don't work, we need some sort of backup plan. And so this ideathon is basically our way of reaching out to the community for some Hive intelligence on that count. So we will have in the show notes a link to Lowe's article, Foundry B's article on Medium, which sort of just gives more context and information. And that also at the end will link to my permapost actually, with the actual specific rules and how to apply and or how to enter, I should say, and the specific criteria we'll be judging by. Just briefly on that criteria, just to give more information, we're going to be looking, let me actually go open that. Where did it go? Here it is. I'll just share screen and briefly cover a little bit of it. So yeah, you can read this whole thing if you want, but I just wanted to go over the judgment criteria. It must be capable of making reasonable profit upon execution. Alternatively, it must be nearly guaranteed to get a ridiculous amount of exposure. So I hope the wording makes it clear profit is obviously the real winner, but if something gets us a ton of exposure, then that would also be pretty good. Either way, the goal here is really that we want DAI into the treasury as a result. And then it must be plausibly executable. I already went over that. And then, yeah, the other note, I suppose the idea can be completely unique or some tweak on something we already have. So for example, if you see DETH and you're like, oh, if you just add this little bit to it and it'll only take you a month, you could, go crazy with profits like that, potentially could win the prize as well. And then same with any other product we have or any other product that's out there. If you can just tweak some other product that we could conceivably add a little piece to it and profit thereby, then that could also win. You can read a little bit more on this. And the last thing I'll say is that if you see some other entry and you want to add an idea to that entry, read this section here. Just the one part that to me is kind of fun and exciting is that if you want to make an entry that takes someone else's entry and adds a piece to it, you can choose to pledge a portion of your prize should you win. And then we'll be happy to basically say, so if you say, okay, here's my idea, but it's really just an addition onto this guy's idea, so give him, half of the prize. Then if we see that, and if you win, we'll be happy to just send the prizes out in that way. So yeah, it's exciting. I really hope to see a lot of collaboration. Yeah, eager to see just how this works. It's just, if nothing else, it's one more experiment, I think, in Hive intelligence and how do we turn treasury funds into throughput, which I think you've been saying, Lo, that's sort of an industry problem. There's all these locked treasuries around there with tons of funds that people are still trying to figure out how to spend. Unfortunately, we're in the opposite position now.
I actually commented on that thing saying we have the opposite problem. We don't have enough treasury funds.
Yeah.
We have enough ideas to spend on it.
Right. So anyway, I'll end there. This video is long. Anything else from anyone else? Questions from you guys or comments? Cool. I don't see anything. All right. Okay, I will end the recording here. Bye, YouTube.